Hey, Calvin Ellis here for the Spinner Rack, doing a nice comic book heroes solo show. Glad to have everybody here. Before we go any further, please take the time to like, subscribe, okay? Get in all this good comic book hero goodness as we want you to be firmly updated whenever we're doing stuff, especially if you're into the comics like we are. So, just did a recent show, and I usually try to ask people what they're interested in, what they're looking for. And comic books. I can be pretty critical of comic collectors. It's a very, very subjective market as opposed to some of the other markets that I've dealt with. But love comics, love selling them, love talking about them. So I do chat people up. And I recently came into a copy of Amazing Spider Man 238, which is the first appearance of the Hobgoblin. Now, you may have seen a previous episode that I did recently about comic book signatures. And, a lot of guys were put off to buying a comic if it was signed, saying, and they gave reasons as to the cover art, didn't want anything on the interior, and how do I know it's real? And hey, it's all subjective, but legitimate reasons if you don't want to buy the book. However, Amazing Spider-Man 238 came with an insert, and the insert were tattoos, spelled Tatooz, if I'm correct. Yeah, don't check my spelling. Or you can let me know about it in the comics. But the tattoos were for kids. You took out the insert and you were able to apply the tattoos as kids were supposed to, and you had a little bit of fun with it. And, that was the promotion that they were doing. It didn't run in every comic. I believe the issues were, let's see, it was an issue of Captain America 279, Ghost Rider 78, Star Wars 69, Uncanny X-Men 167, and I think, oh yeah, Fantastic Four 252 and Avengers 229. Those are all the issues that come to mind where tattoos were there. So this insert with Amazing Spider-Man 238 tends to be a big deal. If you have that insert, the book is worth more money. If you don't have that insert, the book is worth less. Why? Again, it doesn't make a lot of sense. The tattoos don't have anything to do with the story. They don't enhance the book in any particular matter. However, collectors look at the book as being not complete without the tattoos. So I have a copy, Amazing Spider-Man 238, and it doesn't have tattoos, but this means that you can still get the book and it'll be a cheaper price. So I'm offering, have the book on the wall. Guys ask about it, and they ask, well, does it have the tattoos? Doesn't have the tattoos, and already you can see the head shake, and if only it had the tattoos. Well, if I'm asking for the book, let's say I'm asking for the book, I'm just throwing a number out there, I'm asking for $100 for the book without the tattoos. That means I'm asking more money, probably double, with the tattoos. And you would think the guys were like, well, yeah, it's still the first appearance. It's still the first appearance of the Hobgoblin. It doesn't have the tattoos, but hey, I'm not planning on marking up my arm with the tattoos. Still a good book, still a first appearance. I'll take it. No, because without the tattoos, they have enough reason to say, what? Nah, oh man, if only it had the tattoos. Now, again, at the price that you're asking for first appearance of the Hobgoblin, and this is not a cheap book, you would think the guys would be more attracted to getting this book without it. But no, want the book with the tattoos. But then the price is higher. Okay, so if the price is if this is an unattractive book at 100, is it more attractive at 200 because the tattoos are there? No, probably not going to buy either. And this is one of these things in comics that can really drive you crazy. This insert has nothing to do with the story or anything with the comics. It's very similar to some of the other inserts that you would see, like with the Mark Jewelers, which tend to drive a book higher as well. Now, there are some inserts that have historical value with the comic. DC Comics used to do surveys inside of their books. And those surveys would ask questions about what comic book readers wanted to see, what their buying practices were. Now DC doesn't do this anymore, but those surveys are great in terms of history of what comic book guys were doing or what the publishers was doing in trying to do outreach, to their readership. It's a good mark of the time period. So stuff like that, okay, but the tattoos, Mark Jewelers has nothing to do with the comic whatsoever, but it will still drive the price of that book. as opposed to, say, a signature, which guys tend to frown on as well. So on one hand, you've got the tattoos, okay, that are, it's more value, okay, has nothing to do with the book. On the other hand, you would have something say like a signature or a remark, and no, 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 I don't want that particular thing. And again, what does it all boil down to? It boils down to the money. It boils down to the money. This is an expensive book, whether it has tattoos in it or not. But it's a safe bet that if you don't have tattoos, well, hey, I could have bought it, but it didn't have the tattoos. I'll wait until I can find one with the tattoos, which is going to be $200 to $300 more. But hey, there's a good reasoning for it. So if this was and again, I can understand if the tattoos were crucial to the story, like the tattoos like had some sort of something you had to decode in order to understand some of the language that was scrambled or something like they've done in books. I got it, no problem. There were inserts where this with where's where's Spider-Man, and other inserts where you had to find Captain Crunch. Perfectly reasonable at the end of the day. But the tattoos, always very, very curious as to the things that drive a comic book's value, especially with the market where everybody's trying to get the book for as cheap as possible. Yet we want these rare additives that make the book more singular at the end of the day. So and I've said this to people, comic books tend to straddle the line on different markets. They're books, okay, but they're also art. They were directed and are mainly meant for children, but the primary guys who are after it are adults, and these guys have not been children for a very, very long time. We want them in pristine condition, okay, but we're never going to read them. Okay. A graded book will definitely get more value, but you can't read it. So it's about preserving something almost like a trading card at the end of the day. But comic books are a mixture of literature and art. They come into the same market where you would deal with the book, but at the same time, because they're directed as kids, they're not necessarily looked upon it the same way. They have top-notch art, okay, but not looked at as if you're getting a painting. And the whole card market really influenced a lot of the stuff that goes on with it. So some of these things, when I look at the practices, sometimes I think it's self-defeating towards collecting because the story should be the biggest thing that drives comics, not necessarily how rare that particular book is, with the exception of the big ones like Superman and Spider-Man. But hey, this was a really great story. Everybody should want to own this. First appearance, I can definitely fall in line with that as well. But the important thing about Amazing Spider-Man 238 is the first appearance of the Hobgoblin, not the tattoos. The tattoos really, even if it makes the book complete, it really shouldn't be a significant driver in terms of the money that the book gets. That should be the overall condition of the book. And the idea that somebody would, well, it doesn't have the tattoos at the end of the day always comes across as a little, yeah, price is too high, right? Price is too high. So, if you're out there collecting and some of the decisions we make towards it, I always find them a bit questionable. If it was a book that I wanted and it was minus these particular tattoos or inserts, but I'm not after it for the tattoos. Anybody who wanted the tattoos got them as a kid and did what kids are supposed to do. The idea is, as adults, this has a meaning somehow. I always find to be a bit curious. But as I've said before, the practices with comics are incredibly suggestive. Taking the piss, yes, but no insult made towards anyone. I have my own particular idiosyncrasies when it comes to collecting comics, which I'm certain I'll get to in a future show. Well, hey, that's it for this one. Glad that you were able to sit in. Hope you enjoyed yourself, and I'll see you next time. For the Spinner Rack, I'm out.